Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be another video about the next week's active pattern. Now this pattern is shaping up to be more and more active. Again, the confidence on this storm is fairly low as there could be several pieces to it. And again, when there's more pieces to a storm and when it's developing rapidly over a quick time, the models have a tough time with that. So it's going to be a tough one. So multi-phase storm, there could be some severe weather as well. There could be heavy rain. There could be some heavy snow. So a lot to talk about. So thank you so much for clicking on this video. It really means a lot. If you could subscribe to this channel if you are new, that would be amazing. Obviously, go check this channel out. Watch this whole video. See for yourself if it's worthy of a subscription. Now, if you are a consistent viewer, a recurring viewer, and you want to show your support, the best thing you could do is like the video and possibly leave a comment, but you don't have to go that far. That's the best thing you could do. So thank you so much. Right now we're looking at the GFS. The GFS has done a pretty good job. I mean, I can't really say much for it with this winter storm, as the European is showing its own scenario. Generally, though, they are in moderate agreement. I wouldn't say that they're completely, showing two different things. Notice that basically we see a surge of moisture across the northeast tonight and into the weekend. This doesn't really do much. There could be 1 to 3 inches across Pennsylvania and maybe northeastern Ohio and parts of Michigan. Sunday, Saturday, there could be a little small disturbance. We'll see about that. Nothing significant though. Again, no nor'easter for the United States, just mainly rain. Off the coast, really, just maybe some showers on the coast. Notice we get a really nice ridge, and this has been consistent with all models, not just the GFS. You can see the 32-degree line pushed all the way up into southern Canada, showing the extent of this warmth. That's pretty profound, especially at early February, late January standards. You can see this is not long-lived, though. With the clashing air masses, we have one cold one to the north, a pretty cold one digs a trough into the western U.S. And we have, again, with that warm air across the southern U.S. By the way, sorry, that's my clock in the background, if you could hear that right now. Notice we see a storm develop right across Colorado. It really intensifies there, but it's not its origin. You can see there's a load of precip, and that's going to be really coming in. It's really coming in right now across British Columbia. That's going to be the culprit for the event across the central U.S. And again, models like to have the storm already on the surface of the United States, in the the lower 48 before it starts really honing in on the details. So this storm is gonna be on the land of the U.S. within a couple of days, Saturday, Sunday, and that's gonna really allow the models to become more accurate, become more into agreement with each other, and that's when we'll really start seeing the details come in. As of now, you can see some heavy mountain snow across Wyoming, parts of Colorado, Utah, Salt Lake City, all those, Denver, seeing some heavy snow as well. Denver, maybe not the heaviest, but definitely some snow out of it. The mountains really seem to see the most out of that, the mountains to the west of you. Notice we start seeing again a little bit of precipitation, or late Monday, we start seeing precipitation getting lifted up from the Gulf of Mexico. This gets ejected out into the cooler air, developing a little bit of snowy precip across the parts of northern Illinois. Notice that the storm continues to intensify, 1003 in millibars. And this moves off to the east. You can see we get a nice swath of snow across Illinois, into Indiana, into Michigan, and that moves off, right? But then that's not it. We have another resurgence of moisture, which this one could actually bring snow into Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois. You can see it's a long fetched line, which is actually going pretty far down into the southern parts of Texas. You can see, I really don't know the orientation of the cities in Texas, but I'm pretty sure Dallas is not far away from here. Would be either seeing some ice, maybe some very cold rain, or maybe even some snowflakes. The accumulations wouldn't be too huge, however. Though, again, that's the thing. Remember how we saw that snow across Kansas? When we see really moisture fueled systems, the snow that drops from that in a relatively short amount of time could be pretty pretty I guess impressive. That's what I'm gonna say. Again, this moves into the northeast, and this is not where it's done. I mean, this thing again has multiple phases. You can see here's like that first main phase, or not main phase, first initial phase. Here's a second middle one, could be dropping snow across Texas, Arkansas. That moves off into the northeast, right? And then this is where the slow re-intensifies possibly and develops into very heavy snow across portions of into eastern Ohio and Pennsylvania. May actually get out of this, New York as well, depending on where this sets up. So this is pretty interesting. You should be careful watching the system. Notice it moves into the northeast, and that's where its story ends. Okay, but then look at this. Next weekend, Tuesday, Wednesday, another large system. So this system is just really powerful. It's big, and I've been talking about it for quite some time. Again, the snow amounts look to be pretty impressive, especially across the northeast. Let's go to the south central United States, as the snowfall amounts here might be pretty impressive as well. Let's wait for this to load. Notice that across portions of central northern Texas, we could be looking at the GFS probably overestimating this. However, again, it did not really overestimate the amounts when there was snow across Kansas here and into Oklahoma this week actually, and they dropped lots of snow. So I mean, up to 9 inches, maybe, possibly. I would say half a foot is not out of the question for somewhere in this vicinity in Texas, and maybe into Arkansas a little bit less. But you know, it's getting interesting. The storm is looking to be throwing us punches. Notice into northern New England, really heavy snow amounts. So this is, you know, if you've been lacking snow for these locations, it looks as if you might get lucky with some heavier snow this time around. Notice Ohio, Detroit, you know, you've been lacking snow this year. You could get in on some of the snow, 6, 5, 8 inches of snow with the GFS model. GFS may be a little bit underestimating some of these amounts for the northern areas, excluding the northeast, where maybe a bit overdoing it with the moisture. We'll see. Usually likes to hang on to extremes, the GFS. But definitely the GFS hasn't done a bad job. Let's look at the Canadian snowfall amounts. You can see that just based on this graphic, it's different. That's why we have a lot of still disagreement and a lot of things to point out. You can see it's more centered across the Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Missouri area, not necessarily into Texas and into the northeast. Let's look at the Canadian and let's see how it plays out this storm. Again, the Canadian has been hanging on to that north to south system track, where it's more north to south versus west to east, which is what the European and the GFS have been showing. So again, we see that little system, we see that large surge of warm air, which may actually again intensify the system even more than expected. And then again, you can see it tries developing this wave, this west to east wave, but again, that doesn't really seem to be working out for it. You can see right there, though, it really takes a pretty large storm across midweek into Illinois and Michigan, Indiana, all those states seeing pretty heavy snow. So this would be a very interesting scenario to see what the Canadian has to, if the Canadian was right. At this point, again, I would be obviously favoring the GFS, but this could for sure be something that switches. Again, the models really hone in on the details once the storm comes on land, and the weather balloons from the National Weather Service could get in on some of that finer detail, and that's not going to happen until about Saturday or Sunday of this weekend. Let's look at the European. Again, we have that warm-up marked by those yellow or green colors, but then we see a troughing in the west. This is where the storm kind of takes shape, and you can see that the European develops the system and takes it across pretty quickly, more quicker than what the GFS had, and a little bit different than the other two models, which is, again, each model has its own little scenario. Let me show you the European model, surface and precipitation and its snowfall amounts. So the European also is a very interesting model, and each model really excites me as they're showing multiple phases, but it also makes me a little bit dreadful seeing how much difference there is with these models and how much potential difference there could be with each little segment of the storm, which there looks to be some quite profound differences. Again, we will get more details as we get into the weekend, but there's still a little bit of time, quite a bit actually, but you could see the European does that same thing, that warm-up, and then we see the heavy, very heavy mountain snow. This mountain snow may be just ridiculously heavy. You can see it puts out that first wave that the European does across the country, basically the northern Illinois, Michigan, northern Indiana, Iowa. This is still going to fluctuate significantly. Notice this moves into the northeast, right? You think that's where it's done, just a dose of freezing rain and very heavy snow. No, the European also sets out a very large second piece of the storm, which delivers the heavy snow across the northeast. So it's more of a northeast-based scenario versus a heavy-based Midwest scenario. So, you know, the Northeast have been missing out on some snow, even the northern portions, not just the coastal areas, because the coastal areas have, you know, obviously been the main snow-starved areas. But it may surprise some, but the northern, you know, New England has also not been seeing much snow. Let's look at the snowfall amounts. You can see, if we were to look at the mountain snow, wait for this to load, it's taking a little bit. It's taking a sweet old time over here, and notice that we look at these snowfall amounts across the mountains, and they are pretty significant. Anywhere you see that purple, that is above half a foot, that is 6 inches and above, and you see that pink, that is 12 inches and above. So definitely some of these locations seeing some heavy snow, but and it's going to continue throughout the whole of next week. So the ski resorts are going to be ecstatic about this. And you could see not much snow for the Midwest, though. Let's wait for this little cursor to load with the snowfall amounts. That's helpful, but I guess it's not choosing not to show itself, a little bit shy. But basically 4, 5, maybe 6 inches across the Illinois, Iowa, and Nebraska area. So, you know, nothing record-breaking, but respectable amounts. Definitely shovelable. Definitely something for the snowplowers to do. Look at that, though. Very heavy snow amounts, possibly up to 20, 30 inches across some pockets, and into the Colorado Rockies as well. Into the northeast, quite a bit of snow as well, well into that 8, 10, 9-inch range. So this could also, again, I want to emphasize, this could also shift a little bit into, this could shift, you know, a little bit westward and possibly into parts of Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky. So we'll see about that. Again, this is definitely far away from being set in stone. So thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking the video, consider subscribing to the channel, and I will catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.